Welcome to the most exciting topic on the internet, Social Security. I'm Matt Johnson with Social Security Education Center. Today we're talking about survivor benefits. Now, in today's video, you're going to learn a couple things. The first, we're going to cover a story of a lady we helped find a Social Security strategy for her that's going to net her about $100,000 over the next few years. And it's a strategy she had no idea she was eligible for. You're also going to learn what the most important thing you need to know if you're a survivor going into the Social Security office. Okay, so that's what we're going to cover today. But first, we're going to start with the most common misconception, the point of confusion that I see so often is people get a survivor benefit confused with a spousal benefit. So we're going to dive right into that first and talk about what's the difference between those two benefits. Okay, so we're going to say Dwayne and Doris are a couple, okay? And Dwayne has a full retirement age benefit of $3,000. Doris has a full retirement age benefit of $1,000, okay? So we're going to throw up here on the board age 62, and let's just assume that they have the same exact birthday to keep it easy, okay? So if Dwayne and Doris both go to apply at their full retirement age of 67, well, Dwayne's going to get $3,000. And just like we talked about in the video that's on spousal benefits, Social Security looks at what's available to Doris, and then they look at half of Dwayne's benefit. So they say, okay, you're going to get a spousal benefit from Dwayne, right? So Doris is going to get $1,500. This is a spousal benefit, okay? So it's going to be half of Dwayne's full retirement age benefit as long as she starts a full retirement age. Now, that's going to go on for as long as they both are alive. Okay, so they're going to be collecting $4,500 while they're both still alive. When one of them passes away, the lower benefit drops off, and then the higher one becomes the survivor benefit. Okay, so this $1,500 drops off. This higher one becomes, so if Dwayne passes away first, Doris loses the $1,500 and she just goes on collecting that $3,000. Which is why one of the primary reasons I see people choosing to delay taking Social Security is to protect the surviving spouse. Okay, because let's create another scenario. Let's say that Dwayne, instead of filing at full retirement age, chooses to delay until 70. Okay, so what's going to happen is Doris is going to start hers at full retirement age. It wouldn't make sense for her to go beyond full retirement age, but then Dwayne is going to delay until 70, and he now is going to get $3,720 because he gets an 8% bump each year that he waits past full retirement age. Now what happens? When Dwayne turns his on, Doris gets a bump up to $1,500. Okay, because now she's able to access the spousal benefit. But then when Dwayne passes away, well, now this $1,500 drops off, but she's going to be collecting the $3,720 instead of that $3,000 if he had started at full retirement age. Even if Doris, let's say Doris started at age 62, so now she gets a discount. She's going to collect $700. When Dwayne turns his on at 70, she's going to get a bump up to $1,200. Okay, it's not going to be the full 15 because she didn't start at full retirement age. However, that penalty, that discount, only matters while they're both still alive. Once one of them passes away, so if Dwayne passes away, well, then she just takes over wherever he was, regardless of when she started, which is why I have a lot of people who are trying to figure out, do I take early, do I take later? Oftentimes, kind of a middle ground is, we'll take the lower earning spouse first, take them, he or she, early, and then take the higher earner, the primary earner, later, delay the primary earner so that you can protect the surviving spouse. Now, in the Social Security class that I teach, I always start off by telling this story of a client I have, and I call her Annie. And Annie basically came to my presentation a year and a half, couple years back, and she was really nervous. I could tell. She was there to figure out, she was 60, almost 67 at the time. She's trying to figure out, do I take now at full retirement age, or do I wait until 70? She wanted to keep working even beyond age 70. So she wasn't thinking about retirement, but the question was, do I take now and start investing it, or do I delay Social Security? And as we started talking, I learned that Annie, about 10 years prior, had been through a pretty rough divorce. It was one of those scenarios where her ex-husband had taken care of everything financial. She thought they were good, but turns out they weren't good. And she was, they got divorced and she was left with very little. I found out that in the years since, that ex had actually passed away. Not to Annie's doing, at least to my knowledge. But what that did is it opened up another door for us. Instead of just trying to figure out, do we take now at your full retirement age, or do we take at 70, wait till 70? Well, now what if we start on the survivor benefit, and then we don't have to choose to start your benefit early? We can continue to grow that, because from a Social Security standpoint, in deciding when to take Social Security, you're always trying to figure out, does it make sense to maximize the number of payments you receive? So starting earlier, right? Because you're going to get more payments. Or does it make sense to hold off and then maximize the amount of each payment? Now, for most people with Social Security, you really have to make that decision, because then you're locked in. But the biggest advantage that surviving spouses have is you're not locked in. You can jump. You can start one and then jump to the other. Okay, so what we did with Annie, so let's say this is her, I'm going to put husband here. Now, I don't remember the exact numbers, but it went something similar to this. The deceased ex-spouse in this case had a full retirement age benefit of about $2,400. Okay, Annie had a full retirement age benefit of about $2,700. Okay, so Annie at the time was almost 67. Her full retirement age was 66 and 6 months. And so, looking at this, Annie at the time could have started collecting around $2,700, or she could wait. Okay, so let's just call her 67. She could wait until 70 and get around $3,400. Okay, so she starts here, she gets $3,400. If she starts at full retirement age, she gets $2,700. Okay, but because she's a survivor, she's able to start on the survivor benefit at her full retirement age. So she's going to start getting $2,400. Let me erase this so it's not confusing. Now her benefit is going to continue to grow as she gets those delayed retirement credits, because every year she's deferring, okay, she's delaying. And then what can happen is she's going to get $2,400 until age 70, and then she's going to jump to her own benefit, which is now maximized at $3,400. So as a survivor, you're able to get the best of both worlds. You're able to maximize the number of payments from Social Security, but you're also able to maximize the amount of each payment. Something called deemed filing. Deemed filing does not apply. Deemed filing is what is applicable for everybody else, is that when you start, you're locked in. But as a surviving spouse, you're not locked in, which is pretty cool. So that's one big thing that so many people are unaware of. If you're a survivor, you have the most options when it comes to Social Security. So if you know a survivor, if you're a survivor, if you know somebody that's a survivor, pass this along, because a lot of people, I have so many people that come to my office that have no idea this is even possible. Because for Annie, I mean, she was 6 months beyond full retirement age. So she went and got about $14,000 in a lump sum from Social Security. And then she started on $2,400 a month while she continued to work. And then she jumped to $3,400. Well, she had just gone into the Social Security office. It depends on who you talk to over there, but she could have just started on her own benefit at $2,700, because that technically is higher than $2,400. And I've seen it so many times where that happens, and Social Security office will just say, oh yeah, your benefit's higher, but not realizing that she should start on this and then switch to her own benefit to maximize. All right, it's my favorite part of any presentation. What are the rules? Okay, for surviving spouses, what are the rules? Now, keep in mind, I'm only the messenger here. I didn't come up with any of these rules, okay? So the first rule is you cannot collect a survivor benefit if you remarry prior to age 60, okay? I always get hesitant to share this because I had a couple storm out of my class one time when they learned this, because I learned later that they had gotten married right before age 60 and they were super bummed. They thought they were going to get a survivor benefit. So that's a big, big deal. If you're age 60 and one day, then you can collect a survivor benefit from a former, deceased spouse. But if you remarry prior to age 60, you cannot, okay? You do have to have been married for 9 or more months. There are 2 exceptions to that. One, if you were killed in active duty. The other is if you died in an accident, okay? But otherwise, you have to have been married to that deceased spouse for 9 months or more. Now, on my own record, I can start as early as 62. On my own work record, I can go till 70. If I'm collecting a spousal benefit, I can start as early as 62. I wouldn't generally go beyond full retirement age. As a surviving spouse, I can start as early as age 60, and I wouldn't go beyond my full retirement age because I wouldn't get any additional credit for waiting beyond full retirement age, okay? So that's the age range. You are subject to the annual earnings test prior to your full retirement age. So just like collecting Social Security from your own work record or off of a living spouse's work record, you cannot collect unless you're making less than that threshold. In the year 2024, it's $22,320. That does go up incrementally with inflation each year. And it does, so just like Annie, it does apply to ex-spouses, so deceased ex-spouses. You do have to hit that 10-year rule though. So you have to have been married to them for 10 years in order to be able to collect a deceased ex-spouse benefit. Now, the most important thing that you need to know if you are a survivor when you go into the Social Security office, for those of you who are fans of In-N-Out, you'll like this, okay? So if you're a fan of In-N-Out, you know that it's a very simple menu. You have like an option for a hamburger, a cheeseburger, and a double, right? One thing that is not on the menu is animal style. But for those who are in the know, right, if you're a big fan of In-N-Out and you go to In-N-Out, you can ask them for animal style. Then they'll throw a bunch of onions, bunch of sauce, bunch of cheese on. But you have to know what to ask for because it doesn't say it on the menu. Social Security is the exact same way, okay? One time, we had a lady come in and she was a survivor and she said, how do I know how much I can collect off of my deceased spouse? And unfortunately, we don't know that. And you also can't look that up online, unfortunately. But what you can do is go into the Social Security office. So she did, and she asked them, how do I know how much I could collect right now off of my deceased spouse? And they looked at her and they said, we have no way of knowing, right? So she came back to us, and then we started to do some research, and we found out, we told her, go ask for the widow's benefits matrix. Okay, so she goes in, she asks for the widow's benefits matrix into Social Security. They say, oh yeah, of course. And within 5 minutes, she has this printed sheet that shows every single month how much she could collect off of her deceased spouse versus how much she could collect off of her own work record. So if you are a survivor or you know a survivor, that one's important, okay? Know to ask for the widow's benefits matrix. Just like at In-N-Out, you have to ask for animal style going in. But if you do that, then they'll be able to tell you exactly how much you'll be able to collect off of a deceased spouse or off of your own work record. And then you can do the math on, does it make sense to start my own work record and grow the survivor benefit, or does it make sense to start on the survivor benefit and grow mine until age 70? Okay, that's it for today. Thanks for listening in, and we'll see you on the next one. Okay.